All right, have you ever felt like the traditional business advice you read in textbooks is, well, actually holding you back? Like if you've been memorizing B-School Strategy 101, hoping it's the golden ticket to massive success. You know what? We're going to turn that completely upside down today. In this explainer, we're diving into a really brilliant breakdown by John Mullins. It's all about how breaking the big business rules is actually the real secret sauce for entrepreneurs. Let's get right into it.
Okay, let's dive into this. The numbers here, they absolutely speak for themselves. Back in 1995, there was this graphic design teacher named Linda Weinman, and she just needed a simple sandbox, basically a digital space for her students to play around with new digital tools, like early versions of Photoshop and Illustrator, and a place to show off their work. She literally just called it lynda.com. By completely ignoring the traditional corporate playbooks of massive scale and deep market analysis, and instead just obsessively following the immediate needs of her users, she grew it into this massive online teaching platform, and she ultimately sold it to LinkedIn for a staggering $1.5 billion. Seriously, $1.5 billion.
So Linda is really the perfect poster child for the core theme of this whole explainer, which is big company best practices versus counter-conventional mindsets. It's a classic David versus Goliath scenario, right? The standard corporate strategies taught in top business schools regarding marketing, risk management, and long-term planning, they are perfectly fine if you're maintaining a giant corporation. But for a founder, honestly, they can actually be a massive roadblock. So today, we're going to explore 6 specific counter-conventional entrepreneurial mindsets that fly directly in the face of all that conventional wisdom.
Mindset 1, yes, we can.
Now, the traditional corporate obsession is to strictly stick to your core competencies. B-School strategy tells you to figure out exactly what you are good at, invest heavily in it, and if a customer asks for something outside that predefined box, you politely say, no, we don't do that here. But the agile entrepreneurial instinct, it's literally the exact opposite. It's that bold instinct to just say, yes, we can, and then, figure things out on the fly when opportunity knocks.
Look at this amazing timeline of Arnold Correa and his company Atmo Digital, down in Brazil. He had already reinvented his event management business twice, right? Then a client asks if he could broadcast live training via satellite to 260 stores. Now, Arnold knew absolutely nothing about satellite technology. Zero. The sheer risk he took was immense. I mean, he had never even operated outside of São Paulo. So what did he say? Yes, we can. He simply figured it out. Later on, Walmart comes along and asks if those same training TVs could be moved to the sales floor to run detergent ads for Procter & Gamble as customers walk down the aisle. Again, Arnold said yes. By simply saying yes to his clients and figuring out the how later, the guy reinvented his business 4 separate times. Incredible.
Mindset 2, problem-first logic.
So, big companies are just utterly obsessed with products. Think about giant brands like Tide changing the speckles in their detergent from blue to green and excitedly slapping new and improved on the box. Or, Coca-Cola releasing new Coke or vanilla Coke. Let's be real, that isn't true innovation. It's just tweaking a product to pretend you're moving forward. True entrepreneurs, on the other hand, don't focus on products at all. They focus on real, tangible pain points. They use a problem-first approach.
And this brilliantly illustrates that exact point. Meet Jonathan Thorne. He didn't start out with some flashy product. He started with a major medical problem. See, standard surgical forceps naturally stick to human tissue. If a plastic surgeon is doing delicate final touches on, say, a facelift, sticky tissue causes immense frustration and the surgery takes way longer. So Jonathan developed this new silver-nickel alloy that simply wouldn't stick. But when plastic surgeons didn't adopt it fast enough, he pivoted. He found a group with an even higher stakes problem: neurosurgeons working on spines and brains. In those surgeries, you absolutely cannot afford to lose a single healthy cell to sticky forceps. He solved a massive critical problem and ended up selling his highly successful business to Stryker.
Moving right along to Mindset 3, think narrow, not broad.
A massive corporation won't even get out of bed for a small niche market. They want huge mass markets to move their massive revenue needles. I mean, why mess around with something small, right? But brilliant founders, they do the exact opposite. They actively seek out extremely narrow, highly specific target audiences to gain a powerful, undeniable foothold.
You probably think of Nike as a global behemoth today, but just look at this origin timeline. Founders Phil Knight and Bill Bowerman didn't start out targeting anyone with feet, not at all. They targeted an incredibly tiny, elite group, distance runners. These runners weren't running on smooth tracks. They ran on dirt roads and country paths, stepping on rocks, constantly getting shin splints and sprained ankles. So Nike designed a shoe specifically for them, with a wider footbed, better lateral stability, and extra cushioning. Once they solved the problem for that tiny, specific niche, they took those specialized skills to John McEnroe in tennis, then Michael Jordan in basketball, and only then did they become the global leader we know today.
Next up is mindset 4, asking for cash up front.
Massive corporations are often just awash in excess cash. Get this, in 2018, pharmaceutical giant Merck couldn't even find enough R&D to invest in, so they dumped billions of dollars into stock buybacks and dividends. Billions! Now that is a luxury startups absolutely do not have. For an entrepreneur, getting cash up front and riding the float is critical. It's literally the absolute difference between scaling a venture and having to shut the doors for good.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the jaw-dropping math behind Elon Musk's early strategy with Tesla. Musk didn't have billions in corporate reserves to build his cars. He just had sheer audacity. So he threw a roadshow in California targeting wealthy, eco-conscious buyers, and he just asked for the cash up front. They pre-sold 100 Tesla Roadsters for $100,000 each, cash on the barrelhead. That instantly put $10 million in the bank to fund the engineering before they'd built a single car. And they used the exact same model years later for the Model 3. 500,000 pre-orders at $1,000 each, putting $500 million in the bank just to fit out the factory. Truly incredible.
Which brings us to mindset 5, beg and borrow.
If you take a B-school finance class, you're going to be taught to calculate long-term cash flow and return on investment to decide if you should buy an expensive asset. But the counterconventional entrepreneurial method, just don't buy it. Borrow it. Use the scrappy, resourceful method of utilizing what already exists out there. Just, please don't steal it.
Take Tristram and Rebecca Mayhew, for example. They wanted to build a treetop adventure empire called GoApe over in the UK. They didn't sit around calculating the ROI of buying entire forests. They just asked, hey, who already has trees? Well, the UK Forestry Commission had plenty of trees, plus loos, restrooms that is, and parking lots. But the commission wanted to increase their visitor count. So the Mayhews struck this brilliant deal to borrow that heavy, expensive infrastructure. They literally just strapped their kit to the existing trees on a 25-year exclusive deal. They saved millions in capital while successfully building over 30 adventure sites. Win-win.
And finally, mindset 6, ignore permission.
In a big corporation, if you want to try something new, you have to pass absolutely everything through the lawyers first. And let's be honest, corporate lawyers are literally designed to find risks and ensure you get a no to protect the executives from, going to jail. But entrepreneurs thrive in the ambiguous space before regulations even exist. Instead of waiting a long time to get a no, they just get on with it.
I mean, imagine Travis Kalanick and Garrett Camp going to the San Francisco regulators and asking, "Hi, can we start a taxi company without any taxis?" They would have been immediately shut down because it threatened the entire existing taxi industry. So they didn't ask. They bypassed the regulators entirely. Now, while they certainly faced massive legal battles along their journey later on, the core business principle remains. When you're starting out in an ambiguous, unmapped digital space, the purely entrepreneurial mindset is to just get on with it and figure the rest out as you go.
All right, let's talk about the challenge for you, applying the mindsets.
So, the crucial point here is that it is time to challenge yourself, to really elaborate on your own potential here. First off, which of these counter-conventional mindsets do you already embody? Second, which of these can you intentionally learn and start practicing today? Third, can you teach these to a coworker who might be, stuck in a corporate rut? And finally, what current massive challenge are you facing right now that one of these mindsets could instantly help you get beyond?
Look, if you stop playing by the big business rules that were honestly never meant for you anyway, and start adopting these 6 mindsets, the possibilities are absolutely limitless. So I want to leave you with this one thought. What is the biggest rule in your industry right now? And what would happen if you were the first one to break it?